Gentlemen, I officially have beef with Mr. Beast.
What did Mr. Beast do this
I've
time? I feel like
this time.
you have had beef with him before, so
I mean, mostly because I don't like his face. Was before. And I've told you guys this story, but I want it on the record that he's my enemy because, as you guys know, I'm a teacher at the moment, and so I work closely with Mr. Beast's target audience of 10-year-olds, and they're all obsessed with him. So of course, when he came out with his own snack product, he knew children would be buying it and begging for it and taking it to school, which is why I've had to instruct multiple children over and over that it is not appropriate to eat a snack called D's Nuts at school.
yeah, that's fucking brutal, sure.
And of course, every child is like, well, no, it's peanuts. It's just called that. And I'm like, you know what it is. Why is this a fight? He's like, no, it's Mr. Beast. It's fine. You know what it is. We both know.
I mean, I kind
You're
of
just being a Puritan.
yeah.
I mean,
I hate candy bars with nuts anyways, so that would fucking disgust me.
Oh, that's a really bad opinion, Will.
They're gross.
What makes them gross? Why don't you like them?
The texture.
The texture is like the best part.
Well,
this just
I guess,
in, Dav likes the texture of nuts.
Yeah, Jeff.
I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love nuts. Let that be known from coast to coast on West Coast Toast and Roast. I love nuts in my mouth.
One of my students, like,
Oh my
after
God.
the moment passed, and one of my students was crying about something, and I was like, buddy, but what's wrong? Let me help you here. What's the matter? And he's in his gasping sobs going, how can I talk to you about anything when I can't even talk about chocolate?
No, he's got a point there.
These kids are fucked.
No, I empathize. I'm on the child side, even if he is annoying.
Well, at least he's not an orange.
Well, that's why Dav empathizes with him.
Yeah.
Biggest fucking annoying orange fan I know. And I don't know many.
I'm still waiting on that essay.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I lost a bet and have to write a comprehensive essay reviewing one of the newest Annoying Orange videos. I'm Tommy.
I oversaw this bet and laughed with childish glee. I'm Will.
And I'm the one he lost the bet to, and I'm also diabetic, and I'm Dav.
Oh boy. Gosh, you leave me on the diabetic note every time to dive into, and it makes me wonder, how can you have chocolate bars with nuts if you're diabetic?
Well, about 100 years ago, they invented something called synthetic insulin. and you'd think after 100 years it would be cheaper, but no, it's actually the opposite. But at least I get to eat chocolate with nuts now.
Remember when Will got, like, really scared because you ordered, like, a BLT from Jimmy John?
Okay, to be fair, we were all in, like, a very specific state of mind, and I thought Dad was trying to kill himself by, like, going into diabetic shock.
There are easier. I mean, I was gonna say there are easier ways to kill yourself, but I guess that's how I would do it if I was diabetic. Knock on wood.
I mean, there are easier ways to kill yourself with diabetic shock than a Jimmy John's BLT. Like orange juice or something.
Oh my gosh. Orange juice is such a fucking fraud. I like it, but so much sugar. Too much sugar. So, sometimes when we've all seen something kind of big, I prerequisite and start us off with it. Was the Mario movie like either of your crucial 3, or could we start with that?
No, we could start with that.
Yeah, we could start with that.
Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't like putting you on the spot to come up with a new thing, but I thought that would be a good thing because it's kind of the elephant in the room that there was a Mario movie. I don't know if you heard, but they put Mario in a movie, and it worked out okay for them, it seems. It earned a lot. Um, it seems like if you are under, if you're 12 or have the mind of a 12-year-old, you really like it. So needless to say, I loved it. I thought it was very fun. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'd want a prerequisite by saying I didn't hate it, but I was a little disappointed. That being said, I think Jack Black and Charlie Day kind of carry the whole fucking thing. They're incredible, and that is perfect casting.
Yeah, I'd say pretty much the same. I was disappointed not with like it being bad, because it's really not bad, but I feel like a Mario movie should maybe be better than what this was.
Yeah.
In some aspects, yes. I think that, like, I'm trying to think of how to, like, I think the weak point is definitely some aspects of the story. I think could have really used more time in the oven. And there's definitely, and it's when you can kind of see Illumination bleed through is when it's a little like, oh boy. Like, I'd say the roughest part is the beginning, because that's when you get, like, a scene that almost plays out like a Secret Life of Pets deleted scene, where it's like, Mario and Luigi deal with a dog. And that's when I was in the theater like, oh boy, see what people... But then I feel like it hits its stride a bit more, at least, when you enter, like, the Mushroom Kingdom and actual Mario stuff. I think that when there's a set piece that you can tell just had a lot of Mario-related love put into it, it's very, very good. Like, I think when the soundtrack isn't shitty licensed music, it's pretty amazing the way they piece things together. And even though, references in most other movies bother me and it borders on keys in front of your face, I really liked Soy Facing and a few odd retro references here and there. Like, framed Punch-Out boxers, I was like, oh! And, like, Cranky Kong, oh! I was there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I don't think it's bad, but I think, like, it definitely had some fucking pacing issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't really see why the beginning needed, like, the dog thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of weird how they're, like, someone pointed this out, but they were like, and this isn't, like, a huge spoiler, because it happens pretty early on, but Peach is like, okay, Mario, if you're gonna come with me to beat Bowser, you gotta do this obstacle course. And then, he does all that, and then Toad's like, hey, can I come too? And she's like, yeah, sure.
Well, she makes a big fuss like, oh my god, Mario's a human, as if that's, like, the key to defeating Bowser, but that never really comes up again.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sherm.
What?
I think the other thing is just, like, if this movie came out, like, 10 years ago, I'd probably love it. But the fact that we've gotten adaptations like Castlevania and Arcane and even, like, Sonic the Hedgehog now, it's like, I have a bit of a higher standard for video game adaptations than what we had, like, even that long ago.
That's something I wanted to hash out. I actually think this makes Sonic look a little bad, in some aspects at least.
Like what aspects?
I think Sonic, in some degrees, is a little embarrassed to be a video game movie in a fashion that it doesn't embrace quite the way Mario does. I don't know if I sound crazy, but, like...
You do. More of the first than the second one.
Yeah, I agree. Like, we never spend extended time in Green Hill Zone, as opposed, like, at least it's not Mario saves fucking San Francisco, you know what I mean?
Well...
And then there's a wacky wedding of a bunch of OCs. What were you gonna say, Will? It seemed like...
Well, I was gonna say, because I cut this out because it's a spoiler, but they go to, New York, so...
yeah, true. But Mario games take place in New York. Like, Super Mario Brothers, where it's Mario and Luigi cleaning out the sewers, is in New York. And so is
that's Mario Brothers.
Right, just plain Mario, before they get Super. Thank you. And, like, the original Donkey Kong is saving New York. Well, I guess that's been retconned into New Donk City, which Pauline is the mayor of both. So in this universe, New York is the equivalent of New Donk. So I think it kind of
Which they
justifies.
really should have just made it New Donk then.
I could get behind that, yes. What do we think of Mario's family?
I think it's cool that one of them is played by Charles Martinet.
Yeah. I always, like, it feels a little, like, it feels like we shouldn't be seeing Mario's family almost. And maybe that's an aspect they kind of blew it, because it's like, oh, they're kind of jerks. Like, Mario's dad is kind of a asshole, actually. I don't know, like, we've been waiting for years to see who put baby Mario in that stork all of those years ago, and we have our answer, and it's, okay. Some of the pacing issues Will brought up, I think, can also be accredited to the fact that perhaps a little too much time is spent in the Kong Kingdom, but I kind of loved that because we DK fans have been starving for fucking a decade, and it's kind of the best we've gotten, so I'll take what I can get, personally.
I mean, honestly, I would keep that because it was fun. I think I'd just make the movie longer. But then again, you know, it's a animated film, so you can't make it too long.
You can make it 2 parts.
It's really fast.
So yeah, it goes by extremely quickly. But and I think it's troublesome that you go through like 3 Mario landscapes and it's just like montage of Mario, Peach, and Toad like trudging. I think that's an issue. Like, those all could have been set pieces. And who would have complained if the Mario movie would have been 2 hours? Like...
Not me!
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It could have just been a bit... Even 15 minutes or so. I think they could have done it. But I still really like the bells and whistles. I think that, like... Probably my favorite part of them... Not favorite, but, like... One of my favorite, like, cinematic flourishes that I think kind of sets the mission statement is when Bowser, he sits down he's at his piano where he sings his famous song that everybody loves, and after Kamek interrupts, and Kamek is like, oh, Peach is coming with a human, and Bowser feels like intimidated. It's this very the classic, like, villain tensely interrogating his henchman moment, and Bowser is playing on the piano while having this conversation, just going, dun-dum, dun-dum, dun-dum. Dun-dum, 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 as just, like, he grows closer to, like, losing his shit. I just thought that was, like, it's a good way to reference the games while just, like, tying it into a really neat piece of, like, filmmaking. Just a good way to frame that scene. I just thought it tied together really well. It was a really cool bit. And I think that this movie, as often as it has shitty 80s take on me nonsense where we learned there was originally a beautiful fucking Donkey Kong medley score, it has a lot of moments like that where they reference a game and it could just be for the sake of it, but it does just feel like a very thoughtful flourish.
No, I think the music is, like, you showed me the Donkey Kong thing and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, they leaked a soundtrack where there was originally a song that was, like, composed of different Donkey Kong Country, like, tunes and songs, and you can put it to the Kong Island scene, and it syncs perfectly. And I think if I saw it in the theater that way, I might have cried.
I mean, I think you would have too.
I would have. But yeah, no, Mario, for the, I don't know where I'm going with this. I think, maybe it's when I saw it, because in the words of Detective Crashmore, for me, everything has sucked lately, and I just needed a lighthearted toothache of a film to watch, and this was it, and I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for 5 sequels to make me fucking sick of it.
Yeah, we gotta get the Super Smash Bros. Movie.
Ugh, don't get me fucking started. Was there anything else we want to cover about Mario?
Not really.
No.
My students like to come up to me and say, like, I know all the words to the Peaches song. I'm like, that's not impressive. It's the same word over and over again. All right, well, Will, why don't you slide us off then?
Yeah, so recently I've noticed that I've been toasting quite a bit, and that ends today, because The Mandalorian Season 3 fucking sucked. Like, not even regular sucked, like, it was really bad.
And it reeks!
I thought, like, okay, Book of Boba Fett, it had its moments, but, overall it was bad. At least nothing can be worse than that. Mandalorian Season 3 is.
Sheesh.
It's clear that they didn't have a plan. They don't know where they're fucking going with the show. They just wanted to pump something out. And it is painfully obvious because the whole thing fucking sucks. The entire thing is made up of, like, weird side quests and celebrity cameos, and then, like, a few episodes are just dedicated to, like, some random henchman of Moff Gideon. And then, like, in the final 2 episodes, like, things actually happen, and then, like, by the end of the final episode, it just, like, unhappens, and things are just back to the way it fucking were. Listen, I don't need, like, a Empire Strike Back level story. But I would really love something that isn't just, like, complete waste of time bullshit. Like, I truly feel that my time was wasted by watching this. Every Wednesday I watch this with my roommate. I was like, so is it gonna get good? Because Mando Season 2 is genuinely a 10 out of 10 for me, right? This was just, like, it's almost unrecognizable. To top it fucking off, Mando is, like Din Djarin himself is barely the protagonist. I would, like, venture to say he's not really. It's basically all about Bo-Katan. And the thing is, I really like Bo-Katan. Like, I like Rebels, I liked her in Mando and stuff. But, like, if they're giving Ahsoka a show and, Boba Fett a show and everyone a show, why didn't they just fucking give her a show and call it, the Book of Bo-Katan? But now it's like, the entire season of The Mandalorian was just like, Bo-Katan's thing, which again would be fine for her show, but, like, the entire time, I kid you not, like, I would say 75% of the time Mando is on screen, he's, like, standing behind Bo-Katan while she's just, like, talking.
Which would be fine. Which would be fine for a Bo-Katan show, but that's not what you signed up for when you clicked the program called The Mandalorian. That's focused on The Mandalorian for 2 seasons.
Yeah. And, like, the second season did very well with, like, introducing these characters, but I, like, it's like having the Ahsoka show and then, like, Ezra Bridger is the lead. Like, okay, that would be cool to have his own show, and I like Ezra, but, like, this is supposed to be about Ahsoka. And It's supposed to be about the fucking Mandalorian. And they just, like, fuck up so many things. Something happens to the Darksaber that's stupid as fuck. And that's a shame because the Darksaber is, like, one of the coolest things in the show. And just, like, nothing happens. There's an episode where, like, they go to a planet and it's ruled by Lizzo and Jack Black. And, like, I don't really have, like, I'm not familiar with Lizzo. I love Jack Black, as we just talked about. They are so fucking wasted. They just, like, it's CW Flash level writing, like, in the latest seasons. Honestly, I would even venture to say it's a little worse.
Sheesh.
And, like, they also have Christopher Lloyd in it, and they fucking waste him. He just, like, plays some random dude who, like, goes to jail by the end of his episode. It's like, knowing what this show has been and how good it has been, it's, like, nothing short of frustrating.
Right. Well, whenever there's like new Star Wars announcements by Disney, they'll announce the next 10 proper nouns that are the name of a show, and it all just registers as like the sound of a like garbage disposal sink in my head. Just like it's nothing to me at a certain point. So I didn't even
Shitto, a Star Wars story.
honestly. So I didn't even know there was a new season of The Mandalorian until like maybe a few episodes had rolled out, and I just randomly happened upon the Jack Black and Lizzo Planet clip on Twitter, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening in this show?"
Yeah. Not much.
So is it all about reuniting Mando and Grogu at all?
No, because they reunited in the Book of Boba Fett. So
Oh, that's right.
They're together the whole time.
I didn't watch that. Okay.
You didn't miss much.
Okay.
And you're not missing much with Mando Season 3.
Is Jon Favreau
just like
still heavily involved with this?
Yeah, which it's like, what the fuck?
He's a bit of feast or famine as a creator.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just, I think, like, before the season came out, they said that they don't have a plan for the ending, which is, like, the worst thing you can say about a show, because that basically shows, like, we're just, like, shooting blind, and it was so apparent in this season.
Yikes.
This season sucked ass.
My coworkers today were talking about how they think The Mandalorian, like, as a series, is overrated now. And I think that if a Star Wars show is failing to get through to a bunch of fine tech bros in their 20s and 30s, you know you fucked up.
Oof.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I wouldn't even say overrated now, because I think the first and second season are just really good. The latest season is just, like it's not just bad by, like, Mandalorian standards. It's bad by just regular standards.
Dav, are these the I don't mean to swerve, but Dav, are these the same tech bros that were coming into your work being like, oh, Tetris is fucking good?
Wait, what?
They were saying the new Tetris movie was fucking good?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a problem, because that movie was atrocious.
Anyways.
Watch Andor.
What's that?
So just watch Andor. It's like, I mean, the next season that I think that's coming out next year is supposed to be, like, the final season, actually, and transitioning into Rogue One. That's a good sign, I think.
I'm just laughing at myself, because I was going to ask, the final season of the final season of Andor, as if the alternative was the final season of all of Star Wars, which, welcome development.
Honestly, at this point, yeah.
I'm a little excited. I'm excited for season 2 of Visions, though, because we're getting Wallace and Gromit Star Wars.
Yeah, Wallace and Wallace and Wallace and Wallace.
And Glup Shitto.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I guess, like, I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, it's all Disney's fault, but, like, there's something to be said about two franchises that have gone on so long and have, like, pumped out so much consistently, those being the MCU and Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It's really starting to lose its magic.
Right.
I mean, MCU, I think, did a while back, but, like, I don't know, I expected, like, because Star Wars, it's like, you know, you can make up whatever the fuck you want. Like, you know, MCU, you kind of gotta, like, fit the tone. But it's just, yeah, I'm just not terribly interested anymore, and I think that's kind of the worst thing a show can do.
I do love Kevin Feige, like, addressing the nation, like, hey, guys, we've heard you. We know Marvel's been at a bit of a pump lately, so we're cutting back majorly. 10 movies a year and 5 TV shows, maybe, alright? It's the best I can do. I'm sorry.
Okay, to be fair, they're like pushing back every fucking show. And
yeah.
I'm glad. Because I'm sick of all the fucking MCU homework. The trailer for the Marvels came out, and the first thing I thought was just, if I see this, I'm gonna have to watch fucking Miss Marvel first.
I did go back to 15 years ago when the way to make most of your money was not by pumping out more movies and shows, but by making a bunch of shitty licensed video games.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
I remember I had the Madagascar game for the Wii.
I was a Game Boy. I had Madagascar for Game Boy, so we were on very different wavelengths.
I had it for GameCube.
Oh Jesus!
Did you really?
Yes.
Ah, jeez.
Is this why we met? Is this like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say about my disappointment of Mando. So, Dav, if you want to take over, go ahead.
Okay, so this is going to be a fine toast for a movie/movies called Trainspotting, which stars Ewan McGregor, so on the topic of Star Wars. This was kind of his big breakout film role, and it is simultaneously a very hilarious and depressing movie. The sequel, T2 Trainspotting, which came out many years after the first, is a bit less depressing and a bit more funny. And honestly, I do prefer the first one, but it's still pretty good. But we did watch the first one together, and I think, Will, you said it was a great movie that you never want to see again.
Yep, it's the Schindler's List effect.
Yep.
But every performance in that, top fucking notch.
Yeah. Everybody does such a great job.
I'm gonna hold back.
Really.
Sorry, were you about to?
I was just gonna say, they really sell like the people that they're supposed to be, the drug addicts that are just kind of pieces of shit, but you can't really help but feel sorry for them.
Every squad has the leader, Nasty Boy.
Appeal.
And Robert Carlyle. I'm gonna hold back.
Anyway,
I watched this too because the Blank Check podcast is covered these movies recently. They go director by director and did the films of Danny Boyle. They're just wrapping it up this coming week, actually, as we record this. So anything I spout would just be repeating what I've heard on there. But my favorite tidbit of trivia is that the reason the sequel took so long is that Danny Boyle, the director, actually really burned his bridge with Ewan McGregor, because Ewan was in his first, 3 or so movies. Then when he started to really pick up steam, they wanted him to get, bigger people, so he put DiCaprio in, his worst movie instead of McGregor, and McGregor stopped talking to him as, a bad breakup for, many decades.
So how'd they make up, do you know?
I'm assuming money.
Yeah, that's fair.
pretty much.
Sorry.
Certain scenes.
Oh yeah, the fucking dead baby.
There's, the moment that the first movie kind of takes a turn from being pure comedy to, kind of depressing comedy drama is the dead baby sequence. And, yeah, it's because, if, in all honesty, if this was just a pure comedy, it would feel pretty, maybe bad taste. Because it's, it's about addiction, and you don't really want to glorify that. And this movie has a great message, that even though it is kind of, funny on the surface, the more you delve deep into it and watch how people's lives are changed by it, it completely fucking destroys people. So it's really no joke.
Yeah, biggest complaint I had with it was that I think there's only about one train in it, so...
Yeah, they really only spot one whole train, so it's a real shame.
Man, it is just kind of, it's one of those movies that kind of just happens. You're kind of in for the ride, and the character that you share a first name with, me in particular, fucking dies, and then it's always a bit sobering, because it's they all have it's Spud and Sick Boy and Tommy and Tommy fucking dies. How close are you to having memorized the Choose Life monologue, Dav?
Not really at all. I mean, I like the monologue. I can't remember every single thing he says about it.
The second one kind of lost me, but I did like when he meets the other character. He's like, so what is choose life? And he's like, oh, it's this old thing we did where we say, choose life. And he does the whole thing, and she just stares at him like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Specifically, though, it's not even just like him saying, oh, it was a thing we did. It's like, it was the slogan for an anti-drug PSA that they watched, and they said it ironically to make fun of it.
Right.
And the first movie kind of, like, to get an idea of how the shift is, like, the message overall is that if you give somebody the opportunity to escape out of addiction and, like, live a normal life, they are more than likely going to actually try to do that. And that's sort of what the choose life thing is him at the end basically saying, I'm going to do all of these things because now I can.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Great.
Which is a great message. The second movie is funny on how it kind of reverses that, but not in like a disrespectful way, kind of in a way that is like, okay, yeah, the guy was a piece of shit, he's going to go back to being a piece of shit at some point.
Right.
Yeah, like slick back hair, sloppy steaks.
We'll see that, yeah, they make the point that people, and I think it's Spud they really hammer in, the point is that you're going to be, if you have an addictive personality, you're going to have to find, like, a new addiction. You'll be addicted to something. Whether, so I like how they kind of tie that around as well. Especially with Spud, who's basically the baby of the group. He's, like, the babiest meth head of them. Besides Robert Carlyle being kind of a jump scare every time he shows up in a movie for me, I did dig this one as well.
Yep, and that's all I got for that, so I will pass it on to you.
Oh yeah, it is my turn. Alright. Boys, we watched a very pleasant little bit of, let's say, TV history called the Earth Day Special.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I just
so
like...
Are you posting it?
Am I posting? What do you mean posting it?
Toasting.
He gave it a pretty good score on Letterboxd, so I think
Well, to be clear, my Letterboxd rankings are my personal enjoyment, not necessarily objective quality. Like, if I want recommend... Huh?
I know that.
But it's just like, I don't know. The Earth Day special made me very happy for probably all the wrong reasons. Just like, man, where to begin? Because just like on podcasts now and then, I hear some old boomer be like, oh, and then there's the Earth Day special. Oh, that's something else. And I'm like, what is this? And I kind of Google a bit, and I'm like, oh, okay, so there's celebrities in this. There's Rodney Dangerfield and Christopher Lloyd, ... as Doc Brown. Okay. And at a certain point, I'm like, I'm going to deliberately not learn any more about this and watch it for the first time with Will and Dav. Credits start rolling, and it's like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, as it's like, Bette Midler, Neil Patrick Harris, Bugs Bunny. And then it just throws out a couple more. Chevy Chase, Rick Moranis, Kermit the Frog.
See, when we were watching it and, like, E.T. came up and Bugs Bunny, I was like, who's gonna be fucking next? Cookie Monster? And then it comes up, the Muppets.
E.T. is the most fucked up part, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, he is disgusting.
Well, I feel like E.T. doesn't get, like, shilled into crossovers all the time, the way, like, Looney Tunes and Muppets might. So somehow they got Steven Spielberg to, like, unearth this puppet and throw it on set. And then he's billed simply as Christopher Lloyd, and then in comes Doc Brown and Will as someone whose favorite film is Back to the Future.
God, when the DeLorean showed up, I was like, there's no fucking way.
Dav, could I ask you to recount the part that you had the strongest reaction to as documented in your Letterboxd review?
Yeah, okay, so this is, like, the whole movie is kind of, like, a bunch of sketches kind of stringed together. And most of them are just kind of funny. And, like, one of them they do is Rodney Dangerfield, and he's, like, on a dating show. And he's, like, the only one of the three men that the woman is, like, picking that expresses basically activities that he wants to do that aren't going to destroy the Earth. And, you know, he's doing his whole shtick, like, I got no respect. And she picks him even though he's, like, twice her age. She's, like, you know, 25, and he's, like, 60-something by this point. And it's all a big funny ha-ha laugh, and immediately it goes to Michael Keaton playing, I think, just like a CEO or something.
He shows up on screen, and Will goes, "Is he playing Bruce Wayne?"
Kind of looks like he could have been.
He was wearing a fucking suit and was like having a press conference.
He quickly says another name, probably because they're like, we don't want people to think this is Bruce Wayne.
And there's a reason for that, as Dab's about to fucking say.
He, like, okay, because the like main connecting thing here, the thing that's kind of bookending everything is that there's a bunch of people gathered to help Mother Earth because she's sick. She's literally a person, and they've all gathered in like the town square or whatever. And Michael Keaton's character walks up to the podium in the middle of the town square looking fucking just distraught, like he's about to shoot himself. And he's just like, I have something to tell everybody. My company was dumping toxic materials near a children's hospital, and a baby born there was born with genetic defects. So many babies with genetic defects. And it's just this horrible, somber moment in the middle of all this, like, comedy. Even after this, they don't do anything anywhere near this depressing.
I know. I think isn't it shortly after this that, like, the rap number happens?
Yeah, with Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
And then not too long after that, we get a sequence where a woman I don't recognize walks into a bar tended by a man I don't recognize, and neither of them seem to remember their lines.
A lot of this just... There are bits that go on for, like, 5 minutes where the actors seem to, like, just be fucking around. Like... Oh, fuck, who was it? Was it Jason Isaacs, who is every lawyer? Like...
Oh... They were just like,
He and Robin Williams had, like, a steady shot talking to each other for what felt like hours. And what goes nowhere.
I think they were improvising, and they just never told them to shut up.
They were like, we need to fill this time. Fucking the Animaniacs didn't show up, so we need you to fill their slot. Just go. Just riff. Man. Gosh. Yeah, this is just sounds like, this is pure, like, certified basement classic. Where it's just like, you're in the basement with your pals on a summer afternoon, it's air-conditioned, you're a little bit blazed, and everything is okay. It's a basement classic, the Earth Day special.
If I watched this high, I would kill myself.
Not before Mother Earth does! And then Doogie Howser gives her surgery, and she's Bette Midler, and it's fine. All right.
It's my main issue with it, though, is that it doesn't, like, it. Obviously, the main message is that we're fucking up the Earth, and we need to do something about it. It doesn't really say what we need to do.
Oh, it does Chevy Chase tells you multiple times, shower with a friend.
Shower with a friend. Yeah, they have a rapid fire sequence of just a bunch of like, hey, do this shit, and it'll help out the Earth. But it's like really menial stuff that isn't going to change anything.
Well, Dev, shower with a friend.
Shower with a friend. They play that clip like 3 times
because they just loved it so much. It's summed up pretty well that Kermit the Frog is in it, and it's not funny at all. It's Kermit being like, it's not up to animals, it's up to humans. They didn't even die
if you don't do something about it.
Yeah, yeah. One of the last times Jim Henson did Kermit, and it was the Earth Day special.
God, poor guy.
Man. Well, Will, do you wanna remind us something should we discuss something a bit more cheerful?
Uh, sure. Are you passing it to me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give a toast to Beau is Afraid, the newest Ari Aster film. 3 hours of just complete batshit insane fucking bullshit, and it's awesome. It's a bit of a metaphor movie where it's like the whole thing is a metaphor for something, but it like presents itself in such a way that like everything that happens in this world is like happening in this world. It's not quite like I wasn't a fan of Mother really, where it was like, oh, you know, the whole thing is like Mother Earth, and look at that, all the people are just kind of randomly showing up. It's like a regular world if everyone was just like batshit fucking insane. And it's awesome. There's a scene like the protagonist, Beau, is pretty clearly paranoid schizophrenic. And there's a scene where his doctor is like, you have to take this pill, but always with water. And so he puts the pill in his mouth, and he, like, goes to the sink, and the water is all out. And so he goes to the shower, and the water's not working.
Oh, no.
So he has to run over to the convenience store. But the thing is, just beforehand, he lost his keys. So he has to keep his apartment open. And so, he, like, kind of rushes out with the pill still in his mouth, and he, like, blocks a book on the door to his apartment. And, like, as he's fishing for the cash, he sees, like, a homeless person walk in, and it's like, oh, he's pretty clearly, like, kind of scared about people going into this apartment. And then, I kid you not, the whole fucking town starts going in this apartment. Like, thousands of people just pouring in, and it is the funniest shit in the world.
Well, you're talking...
Is it supposed to be a comedy?
It's like a horror comedy, but it's mainly comedy. It does have some really dreadful parts,
Dude,
though.
You guys know me. You guys know I make you watch me shake my doorknob to make sure the door is locked, like, 3 times.
Yeah, you definitely empathize with Beau, I think.
Oh my god, that's like my worst fear.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'll see it and you'll be like, oh.
If you told me, I'm sorry, you go ahead. I don't mean to.
No, you first.
I was just gonna say, if you told me that was a scene in this movie, I would have seen that and not Evil Dead Rise last weekend. Fucking shit.
Anyways, it's just like, I think Ari Aster described it as like the Jewish Lord of the Rings, and I was like, there's no way it's gonna be the Jewish Lord of the Rings. It's the Jewish Lord of the Rings.
Were you spitting out your cereal at that moment?
Yeah, they will never make the Jewish Lord of the Rings. Because it is just like a fantasy adventure about this guy trying to find himself and overcome his fears. And that's kind of all I can say about it, because there's like a plot twist at the end that makes sense, but is like, again, just completely batshit insane. There's this really cool, like, sequence where, he, like, enters a picture book, and it's, like, Joaquin Phoenix walking around in, like, you know, something that's probably, like, a green screen, but, like, it looks like a, you know, children's picture book, and it's just really cool. And it's, like, it's neat because the sequence is not like the real world, like, Beau is clearly imagining it, but it shows, like, oh, hey, you know, he's got a really overactive imagination. And it works to have something this crazy in here because Beau is clearly like a very, you know, a very hurt person. And he longs for a lot. A huge plot point in this is that Beau does not have a father because his mom tells him that, his father died while conceiving him. So, like, as soon as he had, like, and I'm not paraphrasing, this is what they say, as soon as he, like, had his orgasm, he just died on the spot.
Jesus.
And she's like, yeah, and that happened to his dad and his dad. So, Beau, you have to fucking stay celibate for the rest of your life.
Oh, no.
Is that another fear of yours, Tommy?
I mean, in a way, yes, but just like, I don't know why. This is like hitting a very particular brand of a neurotypical that is like just the very particular phobias of everyday shit.
Yeah, I think you'd really like it. Obviously, it is 3 hours long, so it's, pretty long. But I mean, I had a lot of fun watching it, and it's entertaining enough and crazy enough to really kind of stand out. If I saw it again, I might just raise my rating. Because there are a few things that, like, after I saw it and rated it, I realized, like, oh shit, this was on purpose. It's just a cool ass movie. Ari Aster does not miss.
How's Parker?
Good.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say I'm going to go watch this on Saturday night, and I think combined with the length and what you said about it, I'm going to have to pop an edible before I go into the theater.
I would highly recommend it. It's definitely a movie that gets a lot better when you're a bit under the influence.
I desperately want to get high and show the whale to Dad.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not watching that movie
Will,
again.
imagine the last moment of that film under the influence.
I think I would piss myself laughing.
I'm looking forward to that too, and I guess also Luca.
Yeah.
Because you lost a bet.
I mean, to be
Where's
fair,
that ranking, Will?
what rank? I didn't lose that bet, Dav.
Didn't you?
No.
I thought we said that Will lost that bet.
I can't
No.
remember. What was won in turn? It was against me, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because
it was
I made
against
up
you.
those terms. So what did I have to do for you? Was that when I changed my profile picture?
No, because you didn't change your profile picture recently.
It was to Rick Moran? Oh, wait, no, it's when you just told me on the spot.
Yeah. No, I know I won that one because I was like, while we were doing it, I was looking up to see if there was a tier list for that.
Jesus.
Will, I have one more question about Beau is Afraid.
Yep.
How's Parker Posey in it? I miss her.
Who's that?
She plays a character, maybe you won't... She's listed as playing Elaine Bray.
Oh. She doesn't show up, like, much, but she's good.
Okay, good. I'm all for a Parker Posey-sance. She should come back.
Yeah. Anyways, for the people at home, don't let Beau's Afraid fail, because it's the most expensive A24 movie, and it's really good.
Really?
And you guys should see it. So I will pass it off to Dav is Afraid.
Okie dokie. Let's talk about something I'm afraid of. That we also watched on the Day of the Earth Day special, and that's Cartoon All Stars to the Rescue.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my god.
Another little multiverse of madness PSA sort of thing directed at children. The problem with this one, though, is that unlike the Earth Day special, I highly disagree with the message of this one. So I can roast the shit out of it. So what we have is a bunch of cartoon characters from whenever this came out, the 80s or whatever, kind of coming together to discourage the main character, played by Max Goof, from doing weed.
From
Because
smoking...
He's got weed.
From smoking what, Will?
Marijuana. An unlawful substance used to experience artificial highs. And by the way, that's a line from the fucking thing said by Simon from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
So we have a new running joke now where whenever we refer to marijuana, we call it an unlawful substance.
Used to... Golly. What's this? A joint?
Yeah, he's being followed by this, the marijuana monster, essentially. He's just like a smoke cloud and he's evil.
Voiced by George C. Scott.
Yeah, and he really wants this kid to get high, and he really wants, his little sister to also get high. She's like 7, and she almost smokes weed. It's pretty fucking hilarious.
Like, it tries to present weed as, like, this... It tries to present it as, like, on the same level as meth. Like, they show him in the future where he's, like, still smoking weed, and he's, like, a fucking skeleton with, like, yellow, pasty, like, rotting skin, and his eyes are sunken. It's like, I don't think weed does that to you.
No. Yeah, he definitely looks like more like a heroin or a meth addict. He's just, like, completely malnourished and totally fucked up. His teeth are all gone and shit. They're like, this is what's gonna happen. Even, okay, the most, like, unrealistic part of this movie, despite the fact that there's talking cartoon characters, is the fact that Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles also discourages him from toking it up. Like, come on.
Well, I'd say Garfield, too.
I'm surprised Garfield gives a shit.
I know. Well, no, remember, Alf threatens to eat him, in all fairness.
Oh, yeah, Alf was there.
Yeah.
And Alf isn't even a cartoon all-star.
I wonder if they, like, made an animated series, and that's where they got that design for him. I'm not gonna look it up. Second appearance of the Muppets in this podcast.
The Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies. They make dreams come true.
There was another Muppet there. George Bush.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't disagree with the message that children shouldn't do weed, and I'm not gonna pretend like there are absolutely zero negative side effects to smoking weed, but the fucking absolute demonization of it that was so prevalent during this time is absurd. And this PSA really probably did some brain damage to people. I have heard that, like, certain... You know how in health classes at some point they'll probably, like, try to do the whole anti-drug thing to you?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that some health classes have shown this before Trainspotting was a thing, and then after Trainspotting was a thing, started showing that. And if you can guess which one was more effective, it wasn't the one with Winnie the Pooh in it.
Oh my gosh, it's the one with a dead baby.
Yeah.
I think Cartoon All Stars would be a lot better if it had a dead baby.
I didn't realize this was gonna be a 420 special, but it pretty much lines up pretty well, huh?
Oh yeah, because we're oh god,
it's the April episode.
It was, you know, Earth Day and then 420. We were celebrating 2 holidays that night. So.
Yeah. The health class thing. Have I told you guys about my health teacher that when we reached the sex ed unit, she would be like, she was like this, she was a very cool teacher. She was, like, no bullshit, but then, and, just this very genuine woman. And then eventually she was like, and now I have to teach you about sex, and there was just one certain day where she was like, and I'm only allowed to talk about abstinence and how abstinence is the best thing ever. And anytime she mentioned it, it would be in this, like, mocking voice, and, like, she would be so pissed off.
That's kind of...
And and as a kid, I'm kind of like, I don't get why you're doing this. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I see.
Yeah, it's the absolute least effective sexual education.
Right. Man. They should do Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue 2, Abstinence Avengers.
Oh, God. Who do you think would be in it, like, nowadays? Like, fucking...
Who are the least sexual No, wait. Should it be, like, the most overly like, Inspector Gadget and Gaston? I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, I feel like if they made it today, it would be, like, modern cartoons, so fucking Gumball shows up and it's like...
I've seen The Art of My Mom, Kevin. You don't want any of that. Oh, man, that was bad. Oh, boy.
Alright, well, enough about Cartoon All-Stars. Your turn, Sherman.
Man, it's gonna take every fiber of my being not to call this episode Abstinence Avengers, but I don't think I have the heart to. Man. So,
Oh, sorry.
You know
I was
what?
just gonna say, I thought you were gonna call it Life or Death for Berry Boy.
About the meme that
Berry
looks
Boy.
like me.
You're the one who said it looks like you.
I know. I don't. What looks more like me, Seth Rogen, Donkey Kong, or Berry Boy?
Berry Boy.
I think Berry Boy.
Life.
Death.
Man, Berry Boy is afraid. So, I played the open beta, closed beta, because you had to pre-order to play it, of Crash Team Rumble. I'm kind of the Crash Bandicoot correspondent, but the announcement of this game got buried by the Toasty Awards, so I didn't get to talk about it before.
God.
What?
Huh? Oh no!
What?
Oh shit! Life!
Death.
That is how I feel talking about Crash Bandicoot with you guys. Man. So yes, I pre-ordered Crash Team Rumble, because I was gonna anyway. So I got in on the closed beta that was live this past weekend. So Crash Team Rumble is best described as kinda sort of a spiritual successor to Crash Bash, but not quite as minigame focused. It is a third-person platforming brawler, almost. And it kind of bothers me whenever people say, we had to make up a new term for a genre of this game, because I'm like, there's always a fucking... But it is kind of hard to sum up. You're basically in a stage, on a team of 4, free-for-all style, where the team that collects the most Wumpa Fruit wins. You have to pick up the Wumpa Fruit and deposit it in your goal, basically, your big old bank. And it's pretty fun. Like, it's a pretty hard to object to formula. And it is kind of cool to see a Crash Bandicoot spin-off that's not yet another kart racer, as great as those are. I do think it maybe has some balance issues, but that's perhaps a silly thing to say about a beta. We only have half of the confirmed characters in the beta. You could play as Crash Coco, Cortex, Dingodile, or Tawna, and a handful more are confirmed. So I think I think the addition of more characters will cure my concerns, because at the moment, if you had Dingodile on your team, you just, like, swept. Because he's the big Chungus, and all he has to do is sit on the other team's goal, and you can't do fucking shit. That was the unfortunate thing. But when I got into a game that didn't involve Dingodile, it was very fun. What's kinda has me all peaked is that the playable characters I mentioned in the demo were all just the 5 playable characters in Crash Bandicoot 4 as well. Meaning the new characters on their way haven't been playable in a platforming context ever in a Crash Bandicoot game. Which is neat, because some of them are like kinda... You know how Crash's physics are. He's fast and he's slippery. You know that Dingodile's a little heavier and can hover with his vacuum pack. I have no fucking idea what running around and platforming as, like, entropy is gonna be. And I'm kind of excited for that. So, yeah, this game whet my... People were, like, doubtful of it. Like, when it was first announced, people were like, nope, not what I'm looking for. But, like, everyone got in the beta and they're like, it's pretty good. I think it has a bright future ahead.
I mean, I know, what's the fucking dude that you sent me?
Catbat?
Yeah, they look awesome.
Yeah, I knew you'd like Catbat, because you like cats and bats.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually seen any gameplay from it. I'm just coming to realize.
It might be worth a look. I mean, I think just picture a Fortnite, but you're Crash. Instead of shooting a gun, you're picking up fruit.
Huh.
Yeah.
Can you do, like, the Fortnite emote?
I do think you can do emotes, actually, now that you mention it.
I was hoping you'd say no, so that's a death for Barry.
It would not... It would not surprise me if they put it... Okay, Will, what's more evil, the Crash dance or the default dance?
Oh, the Crash dance. So already it's like, that's like double death for Berry Boy.
Life!
Death.
But yeah, Crash Team Rumble. I hope they just go full like they did with Crash Team Racing and put in all the weird fucking characters. But I'm pleased that they're open to brand new characters too, because Crash Bandicoot OCs like Cat Bat are always kind of fun, and there's some interesting drawings in leaked concept art that I hope make it to the final game. Yeah, it's a beta, so I don't have a ton to say. I do hope my wish comes true that the balance turns out to be, make a little more sense in execution with a fuller roster, so it's not, so dependent on having certain roles filled. There'll just be enough characters that can fill all of those. And I guess it is just kind of a, learning curve too. Like, I don't know all the tricks over just a weekend. So I think it's going to shape up nicely. I felt like I was getting the hang of it by the end, and I think they leave you wanting more. I think that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I still say death for Berry Boy.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know what Berry Boy is supposed to just, I guess just fear. I don't know. Alright, well, you're up, bud.
Okay. Gosh, I didn't think we'd make it to 3 rounds today.
What do you mean?
Because usually we do 2.
We always do 3.
We usually do 3.
We do? Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, I'm going crazy. Okay, I guess I will think a little bit outside the box. And I'm going to toast my favorite album of all time, which happens to be named Time by Electric Light Orchestra. I've been listening to it kind of a bit more frequently to calm myself down, because just like Tommy said, everything has kind of sucked lately. And I'm just kind of amazed how great of a fucking concept album it is. For those of you at home that don't know, a concept album is basically an album that's like, a regular music album, but it tells a story. The most famous is probably The Who's Tommy, or
Yeah.
maybe Pink Floyd's The Wall. That's another death for Barry. Time is really underrated. A lot of people only know it by its opening track, which is Twilight. And to be fair, that is probably my favorite song of all time. And it also was used in the Daikon 4 opening, and that's maybe one of my favorite pieces of media ever. So there's that. And it tells a very unique and kind of ambitious story about this dude who is somehow transferred and shot almost 100 years in the future to 2095, and it's basically like a sci-fi story because he misses his wife, but he finds someone that looks just like her, but unfortunately she's an android. So it's kind of about how even when we grow closer to technology, we still become lonely. And then there's songs like Is This the Way Life's Meant to Be, where it talks about looking at a place that you used to know and it not being recognizable anymore. And through a time travel standpoint, that's really striking because we can't even imagine 100 years in the future where we live is going to look like. And then there's beautiful ballads like Rain Is Falling, and I guess it does kind of have to be listened to be fully understood, but I feel it's just so underrated. Electric Light Orchestra's it's definitely my favorite band, and I feel Time is definitely very looked down upon because people are oh, it's a sci-fi thing. That's lame.
I never would have guessed that's the case, because I don't know, you showed me the songs, I'm yeah, they all slap. I didn't think people would be snobs about it.
Yeah, no, when it came out, it was very poorly received.
Wow.
Which just shows that critics don't know fucking shit. Because this album is awesome.
Go see the Mario movie. Sorry.
I mean, the Mario movie does have Mr. Blue Sky in it, right?
It does?
Does it?
Yes, it does.
So there's the Electric Light Orchestra,
There you go.
The only time I did not want to hear that song.
Yeah.
What was it set? Oh, it's the very end, right?
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember when they played it.
That's all right.
Yeah. Either way, fun little fact. Did you know that Mr. Blue Sky is technically the happiest song of all time?
Right, you mentioned that too. Just a certain beats per second it hits.
Yeah, and just like the kind of feeling that it brings.
I could think of a happier song.
What song is that? Ram Ranch?
No, Christmas Cash by Fred Figglehorn.
Jesus.
Cash.
Tommy, can you... But yeah, Time is a really good album, and I kind of like. Obviously, I'm not super like up to date with music, but I feel like the concept album as like a piece of art is kind of a lost media, because you never really hear about. Oh, hey, look, this new artist came out with the concept album.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like something that's kind of a hidden gem like Time that tells such a unique story just through songs, and it's still just a beautiful story about accepting the change that's to come while also mourning what's past.
Mm-hmm.
It is just really beautiful. And on top of that, Twilight is the best fucking song ever written. I could listen to that on repeat and never get tired of it.
I like when it goes da 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 da.
Da 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 da.
And to speak to your point, Will, if you don't mind, I'm gonna sound like a complete boomer for a moment, but I feel like the reason we don't really get like concept albums, as far as I'm aware anymore, is because we're just very plugged into. We're all so addicted to our phones. No, but we're very plugged into creative processes now. Like, we know what's going on with most big musicians we follow. So we know the narrative that leads to a lot of their music. And I wonder if, like, that's what suffices as like, a story told through pop music nowadays. Do you see, like... Now, whenever there,
I kind of see what you mean.
Yeah, because it's like, whenever I hear, I feel like every time a new pop song comes out, whether I like it or not, I'm like exposed to personal life details against my will about where it came from, because people were able to piece together from tweets and Instagram story vague posts exactly what a song is about.
Yeah.
Whereas if Jeff Lynne were on Instagram, he'd just be like, nah, man, space is just fucking cool.
It is, and hence why the Electric Light Orchestra logo is a spaceship.
There you go.
But anyways, I will pass it over to Dav. And for the people at home, since it's, songs, and you can listen to it while doing something, you should definitely just go on YouTube, look up Electric Light Orchestra Time full album, and, yeah.
Let's wait the precise length of the album, so people don't even have to pause to go listen.
Oh shit, it's like a 50-minute album.
Okay.
Well,
wasn't that one part cool? Did you guys listen to it?
oh yeah,
Yeah, the part where they go da 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 da.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyways, Dav, off to you.
Okie dokie. This is a toast for a film I watched with some of my coworkers. And that is Makoto Shinkai's latest film, Suzume.
I think that the cool thing about Suzume is it can be summed up by a single Shrek quote. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
The chair! Give him the chair!
Yeah, it's kind of a wacky concept. The trailers, at least like the first looks that we got at this movie, where a dude gets turned into a chair, and obviously the jokes ensue of like, oh, the girl's gonna sit on him. And, to be fair, that does happen. It's not she also steps on him. It's another thing.
Wow.
But it's like I said, latest Makoto Shinkai film. The other one that I've watched was Your Name, and I watched that back in high school, and coincidentally ended up watching this in the same theater. And it's still, like, I'd say that this is probably better than Your Name,
Wow.
surprisingly. Because I really liked Your Name. It's, like, a freaking just gorgeous movie. And this one is similarly gorgeous. It really builds on that, and in addition to that, I think it has an actually very solid story with some great stakes. And the main sort of message of the film, or kind of what it's existing for, in homage to, is the 3/11 earthquake and tsunami. And you can really feel a lot of that throughout the whole film. It's just crazy to see how that's captured in this.
What is it? I mean, like, I feel like maybe this is a silly thing to ask, but I still just don't feel like I have a good idea of, like, what's the elevator pitch?
So it's about, the main character is a girl named Suzume, and, like, one day she's just, like, biking to school, and she passes this dude who's just like, hey, are there any, like, ruins nearby that maybe have, like, doors? And she's just like, oh yeah, I guess there was a place that was, there was like a bathhouse or something that was destroyed by a landslide or something, and it's been abandoned. And he's like, okay, thanks, and then he walks off. And she kind of, like, thinks he's, I guess, pretty handsome, so she's just like, I gotta go find that guy, I gotta go see what he's up to. And what happens is she figures out that this dude is basically part of a family of people who go around sealing gateways to a giant worm that causes earthquakes.
A giant worm?
Yes, a giant, like, cosmic worm that causes earthquakes in Japan.
Wow, okay. It's a bit to take. And he becomes a chair?
It becomes a chair because a cat that was serving as a keyhole to seal one of these gateways stops being a keyhole and wants to hang out with Suzume, and the cat sees him as, like, a threat to that, so it turns him into a chair.
I see.
But he's a chair who can, like, walk around
Oh.
and talk.
So he's like Bedman.
Yeah, he can walk around, he can talk, he only has 3 legs, and it's pretty funny.
Alright, okay.
And I don't really want to explain more of the plot than that,
Okay,
because
okay.
I don't want to spoil it, but that is basically the pitch for it.
I mean, if anything, it sounds fucking unique.
It is very unique, and it's, you know, there are times of it, like, you know, Your Name, I think, had some pretty good stakes with the whole concept of that, but I admit that even when I watched it, I just, like, didn't fully comprehend that what they were doing was going to really do anything about it. In this movie, they make it very clear, like, what the rules are and what needs to be done, and I think that really serves to add some more tension to it and kind of engage you with the plot more.
Do they sing a song about not knowing what the rules are?
No, they don't do that, because they do know what the rules are.
Uh-huh. Well, I guess that's fair. Would have been nice, though.
I guess, yeah, but no, they don't do that. You know, maybe I'm gonna have to bring it down another half star, because it doesn't have that. I think you got a point there.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm telling you.
The niche Always Sunny reference for the folks at home. Oh, man.
Yeah.
What are the rules?
What are the rules?
So, I guess you gave it high praise. You gave it like a 9 out of 10. Would you say, like, it's just out of story structure, or is it particularly visually cool?
Overall, I mean, just great. The story structure, the characters, the way it looks is amazing, the way it sounds. I mean, I watched this in an IMAX theater, and it just fucking explosive. It's awesome. It's surprisingly very funny, and there are just a lot of moments in it that I, keep thinking about, because it's just so well done.
I also could have seen this instead of Evil Dead Rise. I made a poor decision. It wasn't even that bad. It was just very kind of mediocre in my opinion. Gosh.
You definitely gotta watch Suzume.
I'll definitely check it out. You know me, I'm a bit of a completionist. I'm sure it's on my list for 2022. Whoa, what the fuck? I'm in another year.
2023, sure.
Yes. Barry Boy is in another year where he's not at risk of dying. Yeah, no, alright. And I do find that anime in particular has a really cool way of, like, man. How do I, kind of just, like, threading the needle of, like, a disaster or a historic event in a way that other mediums just don't always have that tact for. So the earthquake parallels sound particularly really interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. I think that all of, like, the events they reference in this are events that actually happened, but there is particular focus on 311, and when they, like, it pretty much depicts the aftermath of that and, like, explicitly shows what the, one of the towns that got destroyed by that looks like right after it happened, and it is fucking haunting to look at.
That sounds like my shit. Alright. Well, I'll definitely give that a go.
Definitely check it out. I'm not going to say too much about it, just please watch it, because it's awesome, and I really like Makoto Shinkai's movies. Still have to watch Weathering with You, but I've heard that's kind of the weakest of his recent films. But anyway, I will pass it back to you, sure.
Alright. I'll end this off with the TV show that's been my poison of late to toast. All toast this week. Not much to roast except for small digs here and there. Anyway, I'm really into the show Schmicago. It's kind of my favorite at the moment. So, this is on Apple...
You made that name up.
No, hear me out. It'll make sense in a moment. So, this is on Apple TV+. So this is the season 2 of a show, though season 1 was called Schmigadoon. Alright, well, so, and the whole deal was it's two normal everyday people walk into a Broadway musical world, where they follow all those tropes. So Schmigadoon was a parody of Brigadoon, and it was Golden Age musicals like, Brigadoon, Music Man, Fiddler on the Roof, and I tried a couple episodes of Schmigadoon, and it just didn't really click with me. I think because I'm just not big on Golden Age musicals, that take place before showers were invented. I don't care about farms or whatever. But I got drawn back in because season 2 shifts from Schmigadoon to Schmicago. So this takes it to like 60s, 70s, 80s musicals like Chicago, as the name suggests, Cabaret, Hair, Jesus Christ Superstar, Pippin, all the ones that I actually really, really like. So, I think, having not even finished Schmigadoon, I jumped right into Schmicago. It stands on its own just fine, because it's two everyman characters wandering into an ensemble of musical parody characters. So, it stands on its own pretty well. You don't need all the background, I don't think. And I think that, I think when we talked about Black Dynamite, we talked about how the sign of an exceptionally good parody is when it works as a parody and it could just be like a really good entry in its genre. And I feel very strongly about Schmicago applying for that. Because they just take every song from this era of musical and every character. And, it's a Lorne Michaels production. It can be a little twee SNL-y, like a little normie-ish. But they're pretty much on the money for the most part. I think a really good tone setter is the Cabaret Girl number. Like, every musical in the 60s or 70s has the ladies of the night, the promiscuous cabaret girls, but they're singing shit like, "Aren't we shocking? I have a tattoo. Aren't we bold? Here's a man in a dress." Like, obviously, sensibilities changing since the time. You get, like, the cast is fucking astonishing. Alan Cumming plays a parody of Sweeney Todd called Dooley Blight.
Oh, hell yeah.
and he gets married to a parody of Miss Lovett from Annie, and they cannibalize the orphans. It's wonderful. Dove Cameron is a parody of Liza Minnelli in Cabaret, and she's like the worst roommate ever. Man, I think my favorite character is Jane Krakowski as Bobby Flanagan, who is a parody of, like, the sexy lawyer from Chicago. So she's strutting through a prison, and all the prisoners are like, "Come on, Bobby, get us off. Get us off on technicality." Oh, man. And, you know, they almost pull you can tell they, like, pull a melody right out of one of the musicals they're parodying and change a note to make it safe. But I kind of love that about it. I like how it wears its influence on its sleeves. The plot is actually kind of interesting because, you know, in Schmigadoon, the characters couldn't escape until they made a happy ending. But because the characters in Schmicago are so fucking destructive and, like, angsty, giving them happy endings is just, like, an Ouroboros that, like, eats itself. Like, they get two of the characters to hook up, but because they're both, like, you know, it's a hedonistic showgirl and a hippie, it's just, like, not actually good for each other. I think it's terrific. I'm very sad that there's only one more Schmicago Wednesday ahead of us as we record this. Because it's a tiny season. It's only going to be 6 episodes. I imagine because having multiple musical numbers per episode is very expensive. But I heartily recommend, you know, if you can stomach Schmigadoon, I kind of couldn't. Give that a try first. It might be a little better context. Then just flow into Schmicago. That's kind of where my shit is.
I mean, it sounds really fun.
It's incredibly fun. I imagine, do you have more of a tooth for Golden Age stuff than I do, Will? You might like Schmigadoon.
Like, yeah, especially with, like, musicals, I think, it's kind of like I can find something in every every genre. So I think I'd like both.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. And Keegan-Michael Key's second appearance on the pod, because he must have recorded this shortly after being Toad. He's one of the two main characters. There you go. All right. Are we ready for news? Do you have any more to cover, guys?
Yeah. Let's do news.
All right. The first piece of news doesn't have to do with particular media. It has to do with me. This is my promise to the American people and to the viewers of West Coast Toast and Roast. My promise to you, starting now, is that I will not eat a single morsel of food until E3 is dead and buried.
I thought you were going to say Jerry Springer since he died today.
He did?
Yeah.
You completely turned my bit on its head.
Sorry.
What's your beef with E3 right now?
No, I was just pretending to do the Norm Macdonald bit where one of you would say, E3's been dead for 3 weeks, then I'd just immediately start eating. I had a prop and everything. I had a box of Cheez-Its to shake into the mic, but...
Well, shake it now. It's okay.
Alright, that was going to be the bit, but I mean, I think Will dropping the bomb on me that Jerry Springer died and I didn't know is maybe a better punchline.
Yeah. He's dead right now. So, and soon so will Jeff Keighley, or as Will refers to him, Joff Knightley. After E3, the execs there decide to murder him so they can get their show back.
Are we going to miss E3? Is it a huge loss?
No.
Not really.
The last few have been not great at all.
Yeah. I mean, all the announcements we get there, we'll just get someplace else now. I can see why a lot of people have twinges of nostalgia, especially if you, like, went. I've never been fortunate enough to go. But it is noteworthy, because it's all Game Awards and stunning Sydney Goodman dresses for the rest of forever.
Yeah, I mean, the Game Awards move on. I'm fine with the Game Awards as, like, the gaming event now, considering it's, like, a lot shorter than E3.
Yeah. You don't have to wait, like, 2 days over a weekend to see an announcement that might happen. It's just kind of all there is what's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did learn there's going to be a Scott Pilgrim anime with the full cast returning.
Awesome.
Very excited.
It's the Devilman Crybaby people, I believe.
Oh, hell yeah. Devilman Crybaby was great.
Yeah.
I do kind of love that, like, Edgar Wright made a movie that made basically $0, and it's cliche enough to say everyone loves it now. Everyone knows that. But the fact that 2 Marvel actors are, like, pulling their heads out of their asses to reprise their roles for it, that makes my heart very warm. It's good news.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll be cool. And I'll be soy-facing every time Anna Kendrick's voice enters the screen. So, this was a big month for, like, just a ton of scattered trailers and announcements. I feel like any one of these, I could say the title, and either one of you would just give a thumbs up or down. Should I just, like, rapid fire through them and see if there's something we want to stick on?
Yeah, we should do life or death for the movie trailers. And if we like it, it's life. If we don't, it's death.
Life and TV show trailers. Especially because HBO softened the blow of being just Max with, like, 15 fucking trailers.
Yep.
But not all of them are. So first, a Disney one. We got the first trailer today as we record this for Wish.
Death.
I haven't seen it.
They want to be Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and it shows they're trying. They're trying.
Then death.
They want to do cell shaded, and some of the characters don't look phenomenal. There's a goat who looks.
No, it looks like a filter was just kind of thrown on it. And I applaud them for having a villain again, but
yeah.
From what I have seen, they play a little bit of the. Like her I Want song, basically, and it sounds like somebody put every single, like, Disney Princess I Want song into an AI and just had it spit out something.
We should just have a segment that's trailer life or death for every episode, because it'll make separating out news a little easier, honestly.
Yeah.
Because there's so many fucking trailers all the time. I'll have to write that down. So yeah, Wish, probable death. The fact that it's Chris Pine as a villain called El Magnifico, a little bit fun. I might go see. We'll see. Blue Beetle.
I have okay, I think, like, the trailer looks good. Like, it's cool that he gets out the fucking Buster Sword at the end. But I don't think it's going to be a good movie.
Yeah, it looks a little rough. Sorry.
It's nice to see the Bill Clinton kid getting work, you know.
Well, the E3's closed down. He's got, like, all this spare time. He has less events to crash.
Yeah.
Man. Alright, okay. So some of these I would place money on you guys not even getting around to watching. Gremlins, what's it called? Rise of the Mogwai?
Death.
Yeah, death for that one.
I'll probably give it a chance. I like Gremlins. Did you guys see the trailer for Tiny Toons Looniversity?
I've never, like, I feel like you made that one.
No, it sounds like it is a reboot of Tiny Toons where they kind of change it to be a college instead of a school, which I kind of don't get. And they change Buster and Babs to be siblings instead of friends / kind of a relationship, which I really don't get. Yeah. I did not like that Animaniacs reboot, so I kind of don't have high hopes for this one, but I don't think it's the same people per se. Rick and Morty anime in the style of some of the Adult Swim shorts.
I don't care.
We'll kind of go awkward. Why did you just text me this?
What did I text you, Tommy?
Elton, I have my notes app open with all my shit written down for the pod, and I randomly get a headline from Will on Unilad that says Elton John admitted Michael Jackson was a disturbing person to be around.
Okay, come on, that's the funniest fucking, like, article title I've ever heard.
Oh man, life or death for Michael Jackson. Maybe I'll cut that.
I got some good news for you, Tommy.
I will not eat a single morsel of... Okay. All right. Oh, okay, you know what was rough? We got the Clone High reboot trailer.
Oof, with all the OCs.
Yeah, it's
They, clearly look like they're OCs.
I think someone on Twitter put it best. I showed my girlfriend this cast picture, and she's never seen Clone High, and she perfectly picked out who were the new additions.
Yeah.
Man. Death.
That's another death, yeah.
Right. Well, and see, someone dug up, there was a deleted scene of Clone High, the original series, with Harriet Tubman in it, and she had a design more in line with how they would have looked in the original show, and it just makes the new one with the big-ass, pink afro kind of embarrassing. I really don't know what they're going for.
I mean, and this is kind of my complaint with, a lot of character designs nowadays. They just look like fucking TikTokers.
Yeah. Which, it looks like that's the angle they're going with for Confucius, which I guess kind of works because the joke is he gives advice on his social media now. Sure, that's a thing, I guess. But I don't really see how it extends to Harriet Tubman and Frida Kahlo, who kind of have the same vibe going.
Yeah. I've always said, not always, because this is kind of a recent thing, but, if you want me to, no matter how well written a character can be, if you want me to, instantly and forever hate them, make them either, a social media influencer or a streamer. Those are, the two things where, if a character bio says they're either of those, I'm out.
Yeah.
Luke in Street Fighter 6.
God, fuck Luke.
God, I had an upsetting realization about Luke recently. I don't know if I've ever asked you guys.
Sucks?
Well, yes, but so you obviously a lot of Street Fighter characters are modeled after real martial artists. Balrog is Mike Tyson, absolutely. Who else? Fei Long is Bruce Lee. Do we need to come to terms with the fact that Luke is absolutely the Paul brothers?
I think you just gave me a new reason to hate him.
Because he fights MMA like them, and he's a street. I think he's the Paul brothers. I think that's legitimately what he is.
They fight MMA?
Yeah, or they box or something.
I think Jake Paul does boxing and Logan Paul does wrestling.
Oh, and he's kind of a combination of both.
So I think Luke is the Paul brothers, unfortunately. I'm surprised no one else has breached this disturbing information. And there was My Adventures with Superman. Did you guys get a look at the little teaser for this?
I've seen the picture that everyone posts, but I haven't seen the teaser.
It's one of the 3 works of art right now that has 1 frame, as well as Killers of the Flower Moon and the Whale.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the She-Ra people making it. They had a rough start with She-Ra, but I think they really found their footing, and I hope that momentum carries into a Superman show instead of resetting to 0. It can't be worse than Superman and Lois, which, as a Superman fan, is one of the most woefully misguided things I've ever seen. I'm happy there's going to be another Superman cartoon, and it looks like it's going to have a lot of optimism to it instead of it being a sad show where Clark Kent pores over H&R Block paperwork. I don't know. I hope it's... But I guess the thing is that the She-Ra studio has a lot of anime influence, and I don't want that to cover up the pulpy comic bookiness of it all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the emphasis this probably might have on Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, I'd like that to more resemble a Fleischer thing than a modern anime-influenced She-Ra. Not that I'm curmudgeonly about that studio overall, I'm just not sure it's a flavor that I super want for my Superman, but we've seen very little, so I don't know, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unicorn Warriors Eternal.
No idea
Also,
what you just said.
Yeah, I have not heard of
It's by Gendy Tartakovsky, so Samurai Jack and Primal Guy. It looks like just an insane fucking action show with his really fucking cool art style, where everyone looks halfway between a Tezuka character and Powerpuff Girls. I think it's going to be on Adult Swim. It looks metal as fuck. You guys should look into it.
Cool.
Yeah. I think those are the big ones. We're getting Max is going to have the Harry Potter reboot, which, death. Yeah, I guess that's everything huge. Well, what else do you guys have? This was just kind of a lot of fluff for news so far.
Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah, Black Mirror. Yo, Mr. White.
So what's, you guys know more than me. What's, like, the precedent for, like, are we expecting good things?
I like Aaron Paul.
Season 5 was pretty underwhelming, mostly because it only had, like, 3 episodes. But I think if they try to do more with this and hopefully try to actually make it good, then yeah, maybe it'll be good.
Alright. Yeah, I was a little surprised the people in my circle, besides you guys who are big Black Mirror people, they were just, like, totally silent about it. But I guess they're not as, like... I feel like it wasn't really marketed. Like, I think they noticed it wasn't called Stranger Things and decided to not really tell people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if I texted my sister right now, did you see this? If she'd be like, what the fuck? Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything else to bring forward? I think it was just like trailers and trailers to lead us into summer when all the interesting shit like actually happens.
Yeah, nothing on my end.
We do have confirmation now that Craven is going to be rated R, and that gives me some hope, but not a whole lot.
What's it? Aaron Taylor Johnson is Craven?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more forgive the pun, morbidly curious. Because they're getting to the point where they're pulling out people I know Craven and Madam Web, of course, but now it's like El Muerto, and I'm like, I have no idea who the fuck this is.
Oh, that got canceled,
It did?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Rip Bozo.
Rip Bozo. Man. Oh well. Well, the Suicide Squad is delayed, too.
Oh, Justice League killed the Suicide Squad?
You have it backwards, but yes.
Ah.
That game is never going to be good.
Do you think it's ever going to be done?
It'll be done, but it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, do we think it's going to be worse than Gotham Knights, though?
Yes.
Will it be
Fair
worse?
enough.
Will it be worse than Square Enix Avengers?
Yeah, probably.
Sheesh. So death is what you're saying.
Yeah, big time death.
Well, you've spent an entire podcast with Barry Boy. It's time for you to make one final judgment.
What's that?
You would need to make one final judgment on if it's life or death for Barry Boy based on my behavior over this podcast.
Oh, well, that's easy. Death.
Death.
Life!